Welcome back, Internet Capitalists, to the next episode of The Big Show. I think this is show 14, and we're in yet another location. I'm back in Bloomington, Indiana, and Benjo is in the Big Apple. Benjo, how you doing?
Pretty good. Like always, it was a ginormous week in crypto, but I think we actually have more this week than usual. A lot in markets, a lot of stories to go over. So it was entertaining nonetheless, and I'm excited for the conversation.
Absolutely, me too. It's we had a little bit of vacation last week, didn't quite get as much done, but the markets
Speak for
never
yourself.
stop.
Speaks for yourself. I got a
Well,
lot.
all right,
I think.
fair enough. But the crypto markets never stop. So here we go.
Yeah, 24/7, 365.
Absolutely.
So the news never stops. And okay, the one thing I want to lead off before we get into the markets,
Yes.
I wanted to get your take really quick because this just broke like yesterday. Is
Yeah.
Telegram co-founder and CEO Pavel Durov got arrested in France, and he's being charged with a bunch of charges, including trafficking, drug-related charges, other things like this, for failing to or refusing to censor content on the encrypted messaging platform Telegram. So, any thoughts on that, just based on your initial reaction?
So that seems like a uniquely un-American law because I believe in the U.S. there are protections from that. It seems kind of BS. I hope there was not coordination amongst nations to make it happen in France, where I guess you can be charged for that. And I would hope he fights that. I'm not advocating for supporting any of that stuff, but it's like charging AT&T or Verizon if someone communicates over their cell lines a terrorism or drug trafficking or anything. It just seems kind of stupid.
Yeah, I echo that sentiment. I hope that he can make it through this and justice will be had. But I just want to mention that this is an echo of some earlier charges and some ongoing cases of crypto founders. And again, Telegram is adjacent to the open network ton because it was originally created within Telegram, then ventured out and has its own organization. But nonetheless, it's related. And earlier this year, we saw Tornado Cash founders being actually taken into custody, and there's a couple of developers still being held really without any cause just for developing encryption related tools. And this is just another case of that, and you would hope that the governments will, at least in America, we have the Bill of Rights to protect us from this sort of thing, and other nations aren't as lucky. But hopefully this trend can stop, because it's really a shame to see people who write code try to build useful things getting thrown in jail. So
yeah, absolutely.
that's my statement. Yeah.
Hey, Ben, before we go on a little bit happier note, we had hinted at this last week, but dropping Tuesday, interview with ZeroLend founder Deadshot Riker. Lots of good info there about his background with ZeroLend, and he dropped some exclusive alpha, shows us the new ZeroLend 1 interface, which will be dropping, I think, sometime September, October. We've been tweeting a little bit about that interface. It's a little hard to see, trying to build the hype. But on Tuesday, probably around noon, 1 o'clock Eastern time in the US, that whole interview will drop on our YouTube page and on Twitter.
Yeah, check it out. ZeroLend, great L2 lending market, and they have plans to be much bigger. I think the new features that he has upcoming, that he teased us in the interview, are really interesting and is really going to tie actually into this whole DeFi renaissance narrative that has been going off on Twitter for a bit. I don't know if you've heard of that. That was in the recent newsletter, but we can talk a little bit about that later. But yes, Stay tuned. We'll tweet it out. It's a great interview, great protocol, lot to learn. So without further ado, let's dive into the markets. I'm going to share my screen here. If I can. How are you feeling generally so far about what you've seen in the markets before we here's the chart, so we can talk about it. So Bitcoin, there's a green candle for you. Is that you happy to see that? We're up,
Yes, I am.
9.86% on the week for Bitcoin.
I'm green candle only guy. I like that. We're still sort of trading in this range here. I mean, it's up at least from a low, but we're still in this range. So, I'm happier, but not happiest.
That's fair. I think since we started this show, we've been trading in this range. We started right after we made the big move up. essentially.
Yeah.
And we've just been stuck in this range for a while. We were a little depressed down here when we broke down below the 60,000 mark, and we've hung there. We had the Black Monday, as you recall, not a good day, and we had that nasty candle. We actually finished that week in the green whenever we wicked down to below 50,000 US dollars for one Bitcoin. And
that doesn't bring my ETH back.
That's true. Well, you've learned your lesson. We're not going to talk about it again, but we are at $64,196 as we record this on Sunday, August 25th. And I think the market is generally bullish again because of the Federal Reserve meeting in Jackson Hole. The Fed minutes came out on Friday. And this kind of sparked a late week rally because it looks like the Fed is pretty committed to cutting at least 25 bips in September. So I think that's kind of why we got the reaction we did so far. And it's really spurred some renewed optimistic sentiment within the market. And that's my general vibe. And I'm happy to see it. I think we're gearing up for another leg here soon, fingers crossed, but I'm optimistic.
Yeah, no, I think that this is the beginning of what I've been waiting for with the macroscopic factors kind of trending up now with the interest rate hikes on the horizon. And, you know, typically these hikes last multiple months, if not a couple years, you know, depending on the economy. So if that in fact happens, I'll be a happy camper.
100%. And here's the ETH chart. And obviously ETH is not as close to its all-time high as Bitcoin is. As a reminder, ETH's all-time high is right below $5,000. So it's about, let's see, I think it was 4,700-ish, if I'm from, no, 4,867, according to TradingView. And we're sitting at $2,764 per Ethereum. And the chart doesn't look as bullish as Bitcoin, but what I see here is more room to run for ETH. And I'm a long-term bull on ETH for all the reasons we've discussed. And I think this wick here is the same wick that we saw in Bitcoin. We wicked down below 2,200 down to like mid 2150s. And I really don't, if we get another huge crypto crash, maybe we see that again, but it looks unlikely to be filled. It just looks unnatural here. And I think with all the use cases we're generating, all the momentum we're getting, the ETF, demand's going to be there moving forward. And I don't know, should I call it generational bottom here at 2764? Can I say that the next 10 years we're never going below, let's say 2,500, let's say right below this candle, yeah, 2,500.
Yes, I think that's fair. And as I look at this, I see more or less where we're at now continuing what we saw in, let's see, August, September, October, November 2024. It's sort of that sort of up arrow where, you know, we got a little ahead of ourselves. But I'm happy with it. I'm still massively up based on the prior bottom I bought at. Just you know, I'd like to continue to see use cases. I'd like to continue to see people understand it. But certainly a renaissance and DeFi summer would go a long way towards helping that.
Yeah, no, 100%. Wow, the wick on that monthly chart's pretty wild here, and we're still down 14% on the month. We've got 6 days left in the month, and I think this looks like a pretty ripe time to get that recovery candle, but we will see. And yeah, just stay safe out there, friends. It's a volatile market as always. Last one I want to check in on today is the price of Ton. As we noted, Telegram founder CEO was arrested, and I think they've got a similar type of wick. You can't really see the move here. Okay, here's the move that we did get though on the news. Ton has been a darling so far of this cycle. Other than Solana, it's been one of the top performers, and we had it drop nearly. This is the market cap chart, but we did drop about 16 to 17% on that news. And this is just a reminder. I said this in the newsletter that any investment you make into crypto, there's always the market volatility in general, which is a risk, but there's also these other risks that people don't think of, such as key man risk. And Pavel isn't even deeply ingrained in the actual development of the network, as I understand it, but it still had an impact. So do your own research, understand what you're buying, because these types of things can happen, especially if you're using leverage.
Ben, I can't hear you.
I wasn't talking. I was waiting for your comment. I'm trying to get you out of the routine of refusing to say it. You gotta make an acknowledgement. You gotta say, I agree, Benjo, or good point, at least.
Good point, Benjo. This is not a nothing. How about this? This is not a nothing burger. This is
Fair
something.
Fair
you know
enough.
what my question though is? Here's my question.
What?
Does this coin What is it? Is it a governance token? Do they pay
It's
out
a
on it?
blockchain.
What do they do with time?
It's a
Yeah, I know
blockchain.
that. But what's but
You
this
have
is
to
a
spend it.
coin in the blockchain.
Okay, it's the. I bet you can guess. It's the blockchain's native token. What do you usually use blockchain's native token
For gas.
For gas, for transaction fees. It's.
Gotcha.
I don't think they have a particularly robust DeFi ecosystem, so I don't think it's heavily used as collateral within Ton or Telegram.
Yeah.
But I think it still is used in that sort of way, maybe within their various like mini apps that they provide within the Telegram application. But yeah,
Gotcha.
it is in fact needed. You sounded a bit skeptical. You're not a lover of Ton.
Well, I don't know anything about it. I was just wondering.
Okay, fair enough. Well, that's the final chart for today. The too long didn't read is that crypto market is looking up. I'm once again quite bullish. I think we do end up getting a proper bull market here, and with monetary policy loosening, I think that is imminent, and we just have to wait it out a bit more. Barring an FTX style event, I think we're good for now. So
good.
Yeah.
And don't we have other like good positive pressure with the Grayscale trust continuing to empty out, but also net inflows into both the ETH and Bitcoin ETFs being pretty solid?
For ETH, no. This week, net inflows there were actually net outflows this week for ETH. So, I mean, over the long term, we still have to empty out the Ethereum Grayscale trust, and that's still working its way out. So we still have some to go, but it is true that a decent amount of that has been emptied. But on the longer term, again, the ETFs themselves are a net positive for the space. So at least for Bitcoin and ETH, we'll have those tailwinds for the remainder of the cycle as we cut rates and these institutional capital allocators have cheaper capital, cheaper credit. It's good that they can buy some crypto assets right in their brokerage account. So I think that's good. But
okay,
this was interesting. First story we're going to start with today. BRICS is going to. So this is like it's like a coalition of different countries, including like China, Russia, and some of these other allies. It's supposed to be like a competitor to NATO, effectively. But they have unveiled plans to launch a crypto exchange and a Yuan-Pegged stablecoin. So that's super interesting. And this came on the heels of Russia announcing that they're actually going to incentivize like Bitcoin miner development and infrastructure within the country, at least on a national level. I don't know if it's a private industry type of thing, but this comes on the heels of that. And it's really interesting that they're using, or at least interested in, crypto technology. So any thoughts on this?
I had to chuckle at the title saying whatever Yuan-Pegged stablecoin, because essentially the yuan or whatever it's called is a stablecoin. It doesn't really float freely because the Chinese government like moves it around or keeps it set, I thought. So good for them for dipping their fingers in this. I don't know if there's enough capital in those parts of the world to make this, or free capital, let me put it that way, to make this a worldwide thing. But certainly the more people that understand blockchain technology, the better. That's the only positive of this, I'd say, in a macroscopic sense.
Well, I think at first, the stablecoin thing was just like that they're going to create a token that is it's tokenized representation of the yuan. It doesn't mean like that the value is stable. Yeah.
This is
so
like a federal. They're going to federal, or I know what you mean. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, no one. I mean, to be honest, the value of nothing is stable ever. Like, you could say the value of $1 to you, $1 is stable, but against oil or against Bitcoin or against whatever, the dollar fluctuates a lot, or the reciprocal. So it is just a tokenized version of the yuan is what they're launching, which is interesting. And I'm not sure what the nature of the exchange would be. I didn't get too deep into this, but I would have to imagine that this is not like a retail stablecoin or a retail exchange. It would be more so using crypto rails and crypto technology to facilitate transfers between the BRICS countries on much larger scale. And it would be more of a private sort of thing, if I had to guess. I highly doubt that Russia or China is giving their citizens access to open, permissionless public blockchains. So this is something to keep your eye on, and we'll see what happens with that. Okay.
What's his name? Pretty short little dude.
He is. Don't make fun of him. You can get arrested. Don't ever go to China because this is now on the internet, so they'll find you.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, Putin is short. I'm sure the Chinese guy isn't a giant, and Putin looks little compared to him. That's
Fair
it.
enough.
It's not Fred Krueger. It's Vladimir Putin. Me and him in a boxing match.
I don't know if I would do that. The Russians are pretty good fighters. I think he's a pretty scrappy guy. He's older than you, I think, though.
Yeah. Well, I doubt he'll come calling. Just like they all just beg off.
Whatever. We need to get Fred on this show. I think we can get Fred. I think if we extend a warm welcome, inviting him on the platform. So? Yeah. Why not?
All right.
You should message him on LinkedIn or something instead of just tweeting.
Okay.
We'll try it. Okay. Here is the next story, the latest development in the Trump DeFi saga. So he teases, they're calling it the Defiant Ones crypto project on Truth Social. And Trump says, it's time we take a stand together. And apparently they've released limited details, but apparently it's a platform to take on the banks. I also heard some rumors that it was related to tokenized real estate. So I think we're getting some conflicting reports here, but this is just like the latest development. He's still kind of pumping this idea that they're going to have their own DeFi platform. So that's interesting on the one front. Any more thoughts here? I don't think there's many new developments from this article specifically, but.
So in the past month, we've had Barron Trump and the Felon doing a meme coin thing. We've had Eric Trump last week talking about real estate, and now this week we have some mythic.
I think this is the same thing.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, it's just a continuation. He's releasing more details slowly, and don't forget, Trump has his very own NFTs. I believe you can buy them on Polygon. So to be honest, yes, and of course there's the Trump meme coins as well, not officially affiliated with them, but there are Trump meme coins. So if you think Trump's going to win the election, maybe buy some NFTs or some meme coins and you'll be up. But this is the latest thing. This is the latest news from the Trump administration, the Trump platform on crypto. And it comes in the same week that the Democrats released their official party platform. So a couple notes on that. They did not mention crypto at all.
Right.
So we're not really sure where they stand. And there's been some conflicting news. There was a rumor this week that Kamala Harris was thinking about choosing Gary Gensler as Treasury Secretary, but it appears that rumor is baseless. There's not really any evidence for that at all. And then on the other hand, there was rumors that she was willing to cooperate with the industry. So critics are saying that if she was willing to cooperate with the industry, you were just in the White House for 4 years as a VP, why not use some of that influence to help out the industry? And they think that silence is being complicit and indicates a continuation of this trend. And kind of the other side is saying that she hasn't said anything yet. Let's hold off to see what actually happens. So this is the latest in the political sphere. Any more reflections there? Yeah.
So people outside the U.S. need to understand the vice president in the U.S. is largely ceremonial. I mean, besides last election where he did not verify the election or hold back the election, Michael Pence, the vice president doesn't do anything. So the idea that they have some substantial role in policy is sort of a bunch of bunk, if you ask me. So I'm optimistic if she wins, we'll have a better attitude towards crypto. Certainly if the Republicans win, the commentary there on the flip side would be, well, these are just a bunch of empty promises, which Mr. Trump has a lot of. So I think we can hold our breath on that too. I think it's more just to wait and see what happens.
Okay, I think you're a bit biased, to be honest. I think that I think that the Republicans are undoubtedly better for crypto, and that's just the way it stands. I do think that a lot of what Trump is saying is just baseless promises, and he loves to say things and promise things, and a lot of it probably will not happen. At the same time, you have to look at the rest of the party and how most of the politicians have behaved. And the overwhelming majority of politicians who are pro-crypto or even have like a positive stance or are knowledgeable about it are on the right side of the aisle. So that is one thing there. And they actually have proposed multiple rounds of crypto legislation, including from what's her name? The Wyoming Senator, Cynthia Lummis, I believe, proposing to add Bitcoin to the strategic reserve. So just leaving the presidential candidates out of it, so far the Republicans have been more sympathetic towards crypto. And again, maybe you're right. Maybe Kamala is more kind to crypto than we received under the Biden administration. But I think they know that the crypto industry has these grievances, so why not address it yet? So it's a little nebulous for me, and I just don't understand why they wouldn't even mention it once. It was a 96-page platform document, and the only thing they said, they had a section about AI, they had a section about innovative technologies, and their commitment to foster growth in these areas. But they know this has been a hot button topic. Crypto has been one of the biggest fundraisers for this campaign in general for both sides, and they didn't even mention it. So I'm not satisfied with their response so far, I guess I would say. Yeah. And I just need some concrete evidence. And I think that's the way a lot of people feel. So we'll see what happens. Nonetheless, fire Gensler. I don't even understand why it's hard. He hasn't been good. Multiple industries don't like him. She could just say, I'm going to fire Gary Gensler. And historically, the more progressives have been pro-tech, pro-innovation. It's progressive, and that's not at all what's been happening. So these terms, and it's just a little confusing, and I just don't think she has much to lose by being pro-crypto. So I'm just confused about why she's not, is my point. So whatever, we'll see, but this will be a continuing trend. And last thing to note here is that Kamala Harris had pulled ahead Trump significantly in Polymarket odds to win the presidency, but Trump has since recovered, and he's actually in the lead once again. So this is a key thing to watch, and I think it's a key driver of crypto market sentiment. It's generally positive. It's a positive viewpoint from the market. If Trump wins, I think it'll be good for the market, and if Kamala wins, it's generally neutral to slightly negative, I would say, is how the market is viewing the outcome at the moment. So we'll see about that. Yeah, we'll see about that moving forward. But okay, let's move out of politics into some more crypto native stuff. I'm going to start off with this pretty interesting one. So the McDonald's Instagram account was hacked to promote a Solana meme token called Grimace, and it's the Grimace token is I think it's related to the McDonald's mascot, I believe. But they somehow hacked the Instagram of McDonald's and then posted something related to the token. So that was really interesting this week. Any thoughts there? I think in my mind, it's just a continuation of what goes on in Solana is just crazy. It's the Wild West in crypto, and the meme coin saga just continues. So I thought it was kind of funny.
Yeah, well, this is the classic time. This is the classic time when I say nothing burger.
Interesting. Okay. Well, the token did shoot to a market cap of 20 million before plummeting to less than 1 million. So a lot of people made money. A lot of people definitely lost money, but this was just a funny story of the week so far.
Okay.
You're truly the oldest man in crypto, I must say. Not even amused a little bit. Not even amused.
No, I mean, could you tell me who Grimace is? Tell me what Grimace looks like, and I'll think it's more relevant.
I didn't buy the
You don't even know.
It's
Grimace is the McDonald's purple guy.
It's the McDonald's. Yeah, that's fine.
No, Ronald McDonald is McDonald's guy. Grimace is the big purple blob. The big purple blob.
So he's a secondary mascot?
He's a character, role? Yeah. He just walks around and does McDonald's stuff. All right. Yeah.
Okay. So big fundraise this week in crypto is Story, a new crypto project, raises $80 million at a over $2 billion valuation to build a blockchain for the business of content IP in the age of AI. So to be honest, I haven't looked much into this, but I don't necessarily understand why you need a dedicated blockchain to I assume tokenize and facilitate the contracting and the transactions in the IP market. But if you have any thoughts on this or read anything about it, you can let me know. I just don't understand why it's necessary. Why does this project need $80 million?
So when I first saw the headline, I thought it was possibly the stupidest thing I'd ever read. because I thought they were getting all this money to do AI on blockchain, which still doesn't make any sense to me. Then I read it a little closer, and it does look like it's something similar to the Pudgy Penguins deal with licensing type. I hope it's similar to the Pudgy Penguins deal with licensing IP type stuff, where it starts to make more sense. Now, if that's $80 million worth, I don't know, but it seems like the entertainment industry is a big industry. If this is that sort of IP, maybe there's something out there, and certainly the partners they have are very legitimate.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Okay, so it says here in the article, just read it. The story is building what it describes as an IP blockchain, a system and platform by which it envisions that creators will be able to assert their ownership on a piece of content, set usage parameters around that IP, and then let others license and use it. Okay, that's I think that's a fair use case for crypto generally, but again, I don't understand why you need a dedicated blockchain for this. It's fragmented from the rest of kind of the crypto ecosystem. So if you wanted to do it with like existing IP projects, like the Pudgy Penguins chain and whatnot, it's kind of divorced from that. And I guess the idea is to get like more legacy institutional IP holders on the chain and start using it solely for that purpose. But I just don't like the idea of it being distinct from like the greater ecosystem, and I just don't know if you need a ginormous standalone blockchain for that. But I guess we'll see. Maybe I'm wrong. No comment.
No, my comment. My comment was up front. I already commented. Am I supposed to say no comment this time?
Well, I don't know if you heard me or not. If you sit there.
No, we have bad internet connection. Your mouth moves late to what I hear.
I see. Okay, this is the next thing I want to talk about. So a lot of the crypto market and on crypto Twitter specifically is talking about a DeFi renaissance. So if you weren't around in 2020, the summer of 2020 was known as DeFi summer because liquidity mining kicked off like a DeFi frenzy where there was huge amounts of transaction volume. Governance tokens for DeFi platforms started going up in value, and there was just a lot of activity in the sector. And for reference, liquidity mining was the compound set it off, but it's the process of like these different DeFi apps distributing their governance token to users of the platform. So if you lend, you get rewards in the project's native governance token. That's when that was invented, and it set off this DeFi frenzy, now known as DeFi summer. So people are saying that we're undergoing a DeFi renaissance, and this was really kicked off by the outperformance of the Aave token. It's up about 40% over the last 30 days, and it's seen an increase in, I believe, Ether-denominated TVL and also just overall borrowing and lending activity, as well as some other DeFi apps. So people are saying this is the next upcoming narrative, and it's kind of competing for mindshare with like the AI narrative, with the meme coin narrative, the restaking narrative. And just my first impression is I hope this really does catch on and we can get some like crazy new DeFi activity, because DeFi is my favorite crypto sector by far. It's like the most intuitive. You don't need to like gamble on random tokens. You can hold your tokens, get yield on them, and like play these little games. And yeah, so I'm pretty excited about that. Any thoughts?
Yeah, so Ben, I agree 100%. And as you know, I spend a lot of time in Discords and online, and I'm sort of seeing the same thing. The AI token thing is stupid. I don't know what the heck that ever was. The memcoin thing, you know my take on that. I think it's pretty stupid too. The DeFi stuff is interesting in what it can do. What I've seen personally is that these protocols are figuring out ways now to create tokenized ecosystems in which the protocol and the user can all benefit, rather than hard liquidity mining. Everybody dumps a token, it goes to zero. So they're starting to figure out ways to keep both sides sustainable. Now, I don't think they're there yet. I think there's more to do. But if big liquidity starts coming back in, I think people that are patient and have sort of taken part in it will get a benefit from being early into this renewed interest in the space. So I don't know if it's how wide the renaissance is, but at least in the few projects that I'm in, I've seen some really good work. I've seen like token prices go up, similar to Aave over the past few weeks, just because of how they're approaching their tokenomics, and they're starting to figure it out.
Yeah, I think I mostly agree with you there. I would say that I think this will definitely be a narrative moving forward, and I hope it is. I think we do get a new crop of like sort of DeFi interesting apps that we can play around with. Half of them probably will be Ponzi's, but nonetheless, you can play the game and make money. And throughout this process, I think DeFi tokens will do well moving forward. And a lot of them are the only real tokens in crypto outside of like the big tokens like the L1s, Bitcoin, ETH, etc., that have any real value because of cash flows and or governance powers.
Yeah.
So I do like that about them, and I think those just coming back into the limelight will be good for the space. The thing I will say is that I'm not sure the new tokenomics models are good. They're definitely good in kind of putting together these different like bonding mechanisms, staking mechanisms, all these different things to make it a more sustainable ecosystem and drive cash flows back to users is a big unlock, and we should still make progress in that direction. However, I don't think that it's the thing that will prove sustainable for the DeFi sector as a whole. The things that will prove sustainable is kind of merging it with real world assets, mostly, yes. I believe. So if you can get tokenized stocks, more stable coins, like tokenized treasuries on chain, and then have these be really deeply ingrained into DeFi and like deep liquidity, easy access, then this is really where the unlock is going to be. And I think we're still a bit off from that. People are trying to do it, but in certain jurisdictions, especially if you're dealing with like real world assets like stocks and treasuries, it's difficult to do with the current regulatory framework we have in the United States, at least. So we're still a bit a ways off, but I think once we start seeing that is where we're going to see the true unlock. So for now, I think this is good. Love DeFi, and hopefully we can make some more progress in this DeFi renaissance.
Yeah, absolutely. You said what I was thinking, that I think these protocols are developing a structure now to do one of two things: either engage retail users in a big way or connect to real world assets, which also brings in tons more liquidity. And they're working on the structure of how to do that profitably right now. So I like that.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think like working out these, like ironing out these details with the protocols about how they should operate while we're waiting for like more liquidity, more real world assets to come on chain and really start interacting with them. It's a good maturation process until we get that, and like really preparing to onboard institutions to a larger extent than we have before. So I'm excited about that. I cannot wait for the day when I can have my like 401k, IRA, whatever it is, just have that tokenized and be able to like borrow against it for whatever reason, or get some yield on it by having it in the lending market where it's used by some other market participant who's also over collateralized, so they can back the loan, but using it to make a trade, a leverage trade, or to short a particular asset. So like once all that's integrated, it'll be a great day. So we're making progress, and yeah, pay attention to DeFi renaissance because it could be a theme for the remainder of the cycle.
Absolutely.
On that note, USDT, Tether, stablecoin to the Aptos blockchain. I know you're not going to have much to say about this, so I'll just leave it at that. But it is a pretty big deal for Aptos because USDT is the largest stablecoin in the industry, and it's pretty widely used. So that is very interesting. Yeah, I'll just say that. I think, as it says in this article here, the supply of USDT on Tron is $60 billion, and on Ethereum, it's $52 billion. So over $100 billion in stable coins in USDT. Wow. So it's a giant. And I read a stat, Tether only has about like 60 employees, if I remember correctly. So like the amount of revenue that they're making per employee is some unreal number. It's like $20 million per year per employee or something.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So it's good business. Just wanted to note that. Yeah. Here's something you might have a bit more of a take on, but Sony is introducing a Optimism Superchain network, its own chain, and it's for the future of Web3. So they just announced this week, and I'll just read the intro here. So it's called Sonium by Sony Block Solution Labs, is building a public Ethereum layer 2 next generation blockchain ecosystem designed to invoke emotion and empower creativity. Sonium will connect the blockchain technology Web3 with the everyday internet services Web2. This connection will make things easier for users, helping more people start using blockchain. So, quick take from me. I think it's good to have a company as big as Sony developing an L2 and on Ethereum. That's pretty cool. What do you think?
Yeah, so two things. One, in a kind of private Discord I was in, I saw information that more or less said that Mode Network was going to be deeply involved in this somehow. And I'm not sure why. Maybe Mode was going to be the partner to Sonium in terms of onboarding Sony users into DeFi. I'm not sure. So that was sort of the first scuttlebutt I heard. The second thing, I read that Sonium was a ZK rollup, yet was going to be part of the Optimism Superchain, which I thought was optimistic rollups. Am I not understanding completely how these things work?
I have no idea. I did not hear anything about that. You might be right. I just don't know. I can look into it, and it might have something to do with like the recent upgrade from Optimism, where they're moving towards like a shared sequencer, I believe. And I think maybe that could unlock what you're talking about, but I'll have to do my research. Maybe I can write about it in the newsletter next week.
All right, that'd be great.
Yeah. So yeah, that's pretty cool though. I think just having more big companies, I'm still a bit skeptical about, I don't like the term Web3 necessarily. Like, it's a good idea. The way Chris Dixon presents it in his book is a good way to think about it. It's like read, write, own. Now we can own these internet services that we're using. But whenever it comes down to developing these products, no one has done it correctly. And it's more of like a UI UX thing. And this is why like it's kind of fizzled out as a mainstream narrative. Like, we're focusing on more institutional use cases because it's more straightforward and we're actually getting traction there. Whenever I hear about like these normal people use cases, it's like, okay, when is someone going to make an application that's like crypto enabled on the back end that like my friends can just use on their phone and they unlock something new and cool because it's crypto that they can't already do? And I just have not seen anything like that, to be honest. So,
well, one thing that just pops in my head about, first off, we were just talking about real world assets, and I know Web 2 isn't actually real world, but it's closer. The other thing is, doesn't Sony have the PlayStation Network and all those kind of games and stuff, the back ends of those games? So maybe it's something along those lines, or maybe it's all of that stuff. So we'll see.
Yeah, I think gaming makes a lot of sense. Like, if Sony and PlayStation just like built all of their games to be blockchain enabled, and you can kind of like carry over like experience points and like trade them on an open marketplace using a DEX, and maybe like port items that you get from one game to another game, and like unlock this cool type of stuff. And you have like a Sony, a true, like, you can have your Sony account, your PlayStation account. I assume, I don't have PlayStation currently that ports over, but kind of increasing the functionality there, maybe like play to earn type of stuff, integrating all of that would be cool. And maybe that's a good direction. So we'll see.
Yeah. Good stuff though.
Cool. Yeah. The next one, you'll probably be happy about this. SEC talks with ETF issuers over concerns of Solana being a security. That preceded the Chicago Board Options Exchange removing the 19B-4s, which were, if you remember, a few weeks back, a bunch of companies applied for Solana ETFs.
Yep.
And again, this isn't really a surprise to me. Like, I think Solana eventually will get an ETF, like a lot of crypto assets will. But in the short term, the logic that was used to approve Bitcoin and ETH was based on the fact that Bitcoin and ETH already had approved futures ETF products. That was the whole basis of the argument. So without that, I don't see how we're going to get it approved without a regime change. So this is kind of that playing out right here, if you ask me. So,
yeah, it's like, whatever. That's, just whatever. That's all I got.
Gotcha. You're not a Solana fan, are you?
It may be fine, and I think it has its place maybe as the casino, but it just rubs me the wrong way that it doesn't work a lot. How is that possible? How does it not work?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not a Solana expert. I don't spend a lot of time in the ecosystem. You definitely can make a lot of money there. It is a gambling chain, but it's just like, yeah, I agree. The chain has gone down a bunch in the past. Recently, it's been fine, I think, but Yeah, a lot of nonsense goes on there. It is what it is. It's crypto. So we'll see. Maybe I think the more crypto assets get ETFs eventually, the better. But I would not expect a Solana ETF to be approved anytime soon, along with any other crypto asset. So that's my take for now until we see more out of Washington, which we're not going to get until after the presidential election. So
Agree.
Yeah. Cool. Next thing on the list is that this is pretty cool. BlackRock's ETH becomes the first Ethereum ETF to cross 1 billion in net inflows. So that's pretty cool. So net flows for all the ETFs has been negative this past week because of the Grayscale trust outflows. But individual products and outside of the Grayscale trust, we've seen strong inflows. And BlackRock's ETH went over 1 billion this week, as the article says, which is pretty cool. And I think over the long term, this will be great. This is a very successful ETF launch in general. And again, love BlackRock. Love that they offer this. Any thoughts?
I think it's great. BlackRock, Fidelity. My favorite's the Bitwise guys, who I think are doing cool stuff and seem crypto native. But I'm happy all of this is happening, and it's keep buying, because there's limited supply of both Bitcoin and ETH, and that'll eventually push the price up. In addition to use cases, of course.
100%. I think I always talk about this, but I think like crypto assets, like the legitimate ones, like Bitcoin and Ethereum specifically, have this property that they're like limited or fixed supply. So Bitcoin is fixed, Ethereum's kind of algorithmic based on usage, but they're limited. So they just benefit from that. They're a hard asset. So in an era of inflationary monetary policies over the long term currency debasement on the part of fiat, they're good assets to hold. And then everything in addition to that, like the utility of these different Ethereum use cases, is just a bonus. So they're great assets to hold. And I think just having them widely available is great. So this will continue to play out. And yeah, it's great that we have it.
Yeah, no, good. It's 100%. And let's just keep them going, keep them rolling until we get a next mini pump, and then they'll see where they go when people have FOMO on them.
Yeah, retail really has never been back yet. Like they were, I remember what it was like in mid 2021. It has not been like that. Crypto has not been like that yet. It's like everyone's just doing crazy stuff on chain. People are making all types of money, and maybe it doesn't get that crazy again, but like retail is not back at all. The normal person does not care about crypto. Half of them still think it's dead. So I think if we do get something like that again, which is highly possible, just given like the situation that the global economy is in, and just kind of the nature of these massive debts that the largest countries have, and they're going to have to keep expanding the money supply, there will be an excess of liquidity in the system at some point again in the next 5-10 years, and maybe we see that again. So that'd be cool.
Yep. Ben, I would expect that to be led by non-U.S. individuals. I mean, as crazy as things are here in the U.S., we think with the money supply, it's even worse everywhere else. So those folks have a very real risk of having their currency literally like debased overnight.
Those are the people that are using stablecoins. Those are the people that are like, they're not speculating. They don't have extra money a lot of the time to spend on like speculative activities. So like they're actually using crypto. Like you go down and talk to people in Argentina and talk to people in countries in Africa even, and they are like actually using crypto products to access US dollars and to transact in, because their local currencies are not reliable. And this really is like the big unlock for crypto that people often forget about, especially if you're in a country like the United States, where you just take the financial infrastructure for granted.
Awesome. Good stuff.
So on the Bitwise piece, so Bitwise announced that they acquired ETC Group, a London-based digital asset manager and creator of Europe's largest physical Bitcoin exchange-traded product. So Bitwise says that the acquisition deepens their industry-leading suite of crypto products and brings Bitwise clients access to global insights. So that's pretty cool. Bitwise expanding. They've had great success in the ETFs. They're kind of one of I believe the leaders are BlackRock, Fidelity, and Bitwise. So Bitwise, being a much smaller organization, has done a great job. And this is just, I think, riding on the coattails of that success. So it looks like they're going to keep doing good stuff.
Yep.
Well, that was the last topic that we had. Is there anything you wanted to mention that we didn't talk about?
Uh, no, I think this has been a pretty interesting week. We have a lot of, it seems like there's more and more political stuff coming every week, and that's going to continue, I'm guessing, through the election. That's just how it is. Um, you know, I like these, I'll call them normal-ish activities of crypto, where you have the last one is a merger and acquisition. You have the Sonium thing, which is trying, a big company putting real money trying to move it towards web 2 web or real world assets in their normal customer base. um, I think that's all really good stuff, and we'll continue to fight the battles with First Amendment rights and the crazy stuff going on with Pavel and the Telegram thing, which is, for an American, it's just crazy. Just that's like I said, the CEO of Verizon getting arrested in France because terrorists use Verizon cell phone network to plot their activities, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, Ben, that's good. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to pull up our newsletter, show everyone what we got here. So here's the week's newsletter. So we talk about, as you just mentioned, Pavel getting arrested. The protocol of the week, you won't like the title. It's the Solana meme coin generator, pump.fun. So we talk about that. And then we also talk about the DeFi Renaissance. So, but you see, we have these fun little Pepes here. Those will be your Sunday newsletter. Check it out. Share it with a friend. It's pretty good. We try to hit the main topics in crypto for the week. And then we also have midweek crypto update, which gives you kind of a synopsis of the week's news stories on Thursday mornings, because crypto moves fast. And as you can see, there's a lot that happens in just like the first half of the week.
So Ben, I really like the new format. I think the Wednesday newsletter is pretty good, honestly, with just the links and the summaries and things like that. And you go a little bit more. I think the Sunday one is more editorialized, which I also like. So I think it's a good combination of the two. Another thought that I just had: the Solana meme coin generator. You know what would get me to really love it? The Grand Tanto coin, TGTC.
You could do that. You could launch it. I can't guarantee how much interest you get at the moment, but you could try. You could launch it pretty easily. If you read the newsletter, it's pretty easy to launch a coin.
Like, could we do that like somewhere on a EVM chain?
Yeah, they have actually. I believe Tron is actually an EVM, and that was another story this week that we didn't cover. A lot of the meme coin traders moved over to Tron, the Justin Sun's blockchain, and because they launched the Pump.fun fork.
Well, isn't that like more Asian centric?
Yeah, it's actually used like significantly by people in these other countries, these Asian and other developing countries, for USDT payments. Like they use it instead of a bank account. So it's one of the most legitimate chains with a use case. It's not a legitimate chain itself because Justin Sun basically controls it. I don't think it's very decentralized. There's like a really limited set of validator nodes on the network, so you could theoretically just shut it down. But it is legitimately used quite a bit. So it's interesting. Yeah.
Well, we'll think about where the best place is to launch TGTC.
Yeah, it probably won't be Pump.fun. I think I'd be surprised if I don't see a Pump.fun competitor on an Ethereum L2, especially like maybe even one that's not a full L2, but it's one of these other kind of organizations where they keep the data off chain, so it's much cheaper. So if one of those pops up soon, we can do that. But this is I feel like Pump.fun really encapsulates Solana's vibe. These are meme coins being created, Tato. This is how often they're
like created. That looks like 1998 when they started using the web. This is such a bad website.
That's the point. That's the point.
It is?
I'm actually that's the whole point. It's just like but yeah, people, you can ape these meme coins.
Nice. I want to get I want TGTC listed on Coinbase. What do you think?
That's unlikely, but you never know.
Yeah. All right.
You also could have, if it's a success or people lose money on it, you could have Gary Gensler on your neck. So,
you know what we're going to do, Ben? I'm going to take my share of the $13 that we earned from the newsletter, and I'm going to distribute it to all of the TGTC holders. What do you think about that?
Interesting. You could do that. That sounds a lot like a security to me, but
it's
could
a
you
gift.
register?
I'm gifting it to them.
Sounds like a security. I don't know, man. I don't know.
They give me $100 for the coin, and then I give them their share of $13.
That is definitely a security. Then that's a security offering. It's 100% security offering. It actually reminds me. There's another initial, like the one of the first use cases on Ethereum was like ICOs. So you'd raise money for like a token, and you just got the token, and it would supposedly be part of. It was funding to build a project that the token would be associated with. One of the first use cases in Ethereum. It kind of ended badly. I believe this was before my time. I believe it started in like very early 2017. Maybe it was the first ICO, and there's actually some applications trying to bring ICOs back with some of these new mechanisms that we have to ensure that there's not a bunch of rug pulls, because that was the main problem. Someone would just get the money and run. So it's supposed to solve that problem, and I'll pull it up real quick, but it's something to keep your eye on. It's called Legion, and I saw some pretty notable supporters here from like VCs. Mike Dudas is pretty notable, and some other players who are invested in it. So this is something to look at. I would definitely participate in some ICOs. Haven't done my deep research yet, so do your own research, not financial advice, but interesting nonetheless.
Nice. All right, bud. Well, hey, let's recap. Big week coming up this week with the Riker interview on Tuesday coming out. The next newsletter update comes out Wednesday. Look also on Thursday morning. Look also, though, I forgot about this, Tuesday or Wednesday, the third installment of our video series with Ionic comes out, which we're really psyched about. Those are turning out great. The guys at Ionic are legit, man. They got some good stuff going on there, really professional leadership. They've got a plan where they want to go with their protocol on the Superchain, and everyone knows we're Superchain maxis. So that's going to come out on Wednesday, and that's continuing for another 7 weeks, which is really interesting. And we're working on our next set of interviews coming up here. So everything's looking up for Internet Capital.
Sounds good. I like it. Nothing else from me. I think this was a good one. But yeah, stay tuned. Thanks for watching, and that's all we got.
Over and out.